You think you hate it now, but wait till you drive it.
The Kibbe and Friends Show.
What it is, bro?
Featuring Rob Kibbe.
I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal.
Justin Corndog Cornett.
New guy's in the corner puking his guts out.
And show producer Bernie McPartland.
This is the DJ 3000, and it has 3 distinct varieties of inane chatter.
Talking cars.
Do you feel this vehicle is safe for highway travel?
Yes, I do.
Diving deep on the topics that matter most.
Just when I think you couldn't possibly be any dumber, you go and do something like this.
And totally redeem yourself!
And the Dukes of Hazzard. Available in iTunes, Stitcher, and whatever else it is you listen on.
Turn up the volume.
The Kibbe and Friends Show.
Kibbe and Friends Show, episode number 117. Available on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Instagram, YouTube, and Patreon. Listeners, this is the show you've been waiting for. This is the one where we review the Dukes of Hazzard movie. And listeners, I can assure you, we have prepared for this show. And we have been talking to each other for the last 6 minutes. Preparing for this show. We have prepared together for this show more than Finnegan and I prepared for all of the shows we ever did together combined.
I will vouch for that.
Yes.
Now, you said listeners. How many listeners do you think that we're talking about actually are going to be listening to this review? Could it be over 5? Could it be as much as 11?
Many times 11.
12. Cool.
It's not many times 11. Anyway, this is going to be great. I thoroughly enjoyed preparing for this. I have not watched the Dukes of Hazzard movie in a long time, other than the stunt segments, which I seek out often. But I'm going to enjoy talking about that. And we're going to do something new on this very episode. We're going to do a second hour for our Patreon audience. And that may end up being a third hour if we're not careful, because we're going to do a deep dive on all of the generalese used in the movie, because Corndog was there. Like, literally there. He knows where the bodies are buried. This should be a really, really fun one. So what I'd like to do is answer a question that I've been getting a little more regularly, because this is timely. Are we, the 3 of us, or the 5 of us, if we start including other show favorites and fan favorites, are we headed to the Cooters event the second weekend of August? And the answer is maybe.
Maybe.
Not entirely sure. There are a lot of compelling reasons to be there. I would like to be there. There are a lot of difficult things to overcome to get there. Corndog, if you had to flip a coin right now, could you be available if you were a fly-in, fly-out type of thing?
Maybe.
Okay, perfect answer.
Just like your answer.
Just like my answer.
I would love to go, but it's kind of end of the wire kind of a decision. Mm-hmm. So it's tough to say for sure.
How about you, Bernie? You could make it?
At this point today, at time of recording, I can make it, but there's a couple of balls in the air. We need to decide, because our side's deciding whether we're going to fly or drive. And then I don't know about accommodations there. I haven't nailed that down yet. That kind of thing. I guess we could all sleep in your Kibbe Lee.
You're certainly welcome to do that. Here's what I'm thinking. By the end of the week, we'll have a yay or nay. So we'll be letting people know one way or the other. We have some good opportunities there if we can just find a way to put it all together. So, yeah, if this were
a month ago,
or even this month, I could probably do it. But once you start getting it back to school, it gets a little tougher. But
yeah, the Christmas holidays are tough for everybody. It's always hard to find time to do the things you really want to do. I mean, there's family and there's celebrations, the bad sweater party, everything happens this time of year. Why?
You're thinking of Christmas.
Okay.
Those are reasons why you can't make it to SEMA.
No, that's Halloween.
Oh, yeah.
Quickly, let's welcome to our new Patreon supporters. Jason Andrews, welcome to you. Moto Monkey, welcome to you. Ted, welcome to Ted. Chad Browers, Chad, welcome to you. Thank you so much. Stefan Mywald, welcome to you. And then Ronald Chilton, thanks for your upgrade. Ron Aldo, thanks for your upgrade as well. Some really neat things have been happening here as of late. So when we get to the second hour here, we may potentially have our biggest Patreon audience to date. That would be super duper cool. So here's a little preview of what the Patreon giveaway. One lucky Patreon supporter will win, drum roll please, a CB radio. And this will be a CB radio from Kibby Lee. And it will be whatever the CB was that came with Kibby Lee that is currently in the trunk of Kibby Lee.
Cool.
I assume it worked. I don't know. If you, Corndog, hadn't made me buy a different CB, I would have kept it because it's it's vintage looking. It's super cool. But that's the giveaway this month. Again, when we do the prize, it goes out to one lucky winner because we got one lucky prize. That's what we'll be doing in this month's Patreon grab. Okay.
Nice.
Well, this show is probably going to be like our Back to the Future episode. I have a feeling we're going to really talk a lot about the movie. So we don't have the normal Burning Bernie. We don't have a deep dive of daily topical news. We don't have a deep pool of emails to hit. But this is the week of Apollo 11's historic landing on the moon. And I know that we talked about this a couple weeks ago when we were doing like the things that motivate us or make you want to walk through a wall. And I think we all communally agreed Neil Armstrong's One Small Step for Man speech was our hands down winner. That was the thing that won it for us. So we're recording this on July 16th, 2019. Well, 50 years ago today, 50 years ago this morning, this is what happened.
10, 9, ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11. Oh, boy.
Isn't that something? CBS News, their website, CBS News, replayed to the minute the broadcast of that launch. It started this morning at 5 a.m. Central Time. I absolutely went to it at, I guess, at 8:37 local Central Time. It lifted off, just like it did 50 years ago, to the second. And that was cool. Bernie, I'm not asking this to be a flippant, but do you remember that as a kid? Did you watch that, or is that still before your time?
No, I was 8 at the time. I remember we were talking about this today, Anita and I were, where we were and what we were doing. I was at my mom and dad's house. I hadn't moved off to college yet. That was at age 9.
Right.
But I remember being in front of the TV set, and I remember Neil Armstrong stepping on the moon. I don't really remember the launch for some reason. Mm-hmm. I'm positive 99.96 that we were watching it. I just don't remember that, and I don't know why. But without a doubt, I can almost tell you what I was wearing when they stepped onto the moon. It's that clear of a memory. Absolutely.
Were you a Walter Cronkite family? I don't really have a lot of context here. I know my dad really seems to have enjoyed Walter Cronkite. The most Walter Cronkite I ever heard was just on little clips here and there, but I had like almost 2 hours of Cronkite today. 2 hours is a lot of Cronkite for me.
Yeah, Cronkite was to news what Carson was to late night. I mean, he was the man. It was Cronkite or nothing. I mean, the most trusted man in America. That's what he carried around. Mm-hmm. So everybody watched Cronkite. If you wanted to know what it was Cronkite.
It was a remarkable experience to get to see this with the historical context. His co-host there was Wally Schirra. Mercury 7 astronaut, Gemini astronaut, Apollo astronaut, Wally Schirra. I learned something during the broadcast is that Wally had, I think he had bailed out of one of the Gemini missions or maybe the Apollo, one of his launches on the launch pad right before the engines were about to light. He saw something and he knew that they were going to take off and crash back down upon themselves. And it was a split-second decision. He did the abort. He may be the only guy to ever have done that. And the interesting thing is when he did it, it was a split-second thing, and they had practiced it in training. It was one of their what-if scenarios. What if this happens? What if this happens? And for just a little while there, he wasn't sure he made the right call. He didn't know. The only thing they knew at the time was nobody died. And only later, once they kind of dug into the data, did they realize, yep, Wally was right. This bad thing was about to happen. There was still a plug in the engine somewhere. We were going to be screwed. That was really remarkable. I also enjoyed that they must have done the New York broadcast because they left the commercials in it too. So I saw a commercial for a carpet company that you could buy carpeting from. They carpet from Cape Cod to the Bronx. I saw a commercial for... It's interesting how they did it because they didn't have music underneath them. So there was this picture of this nice-looking housewife speaking, and she's holding up what looks like your kids, did they ever have Kool-Aid not out of a box but out of the pouch? You know, like a pouch. Mm-hmm. Okay. It looks like that, but out of the top of it's a flower. And she says, "This is the best toilet cleaner you're ever going to find." But there's no music underneath it. And then she pans out and she sticks it in the top of a toilet bowl. And it's the stuff that turns toilet water blue. It's a cleaner of some kind. And the flower sticks out and it's supposed to be visible. So you put the thing of Kool-Aid, I guess, in the toilet, and the flower sticks out. When the flower changes color, that's when you change the Kool-Aid. It was weird. I enjoyed watching the commercials. Obviously, there was lots of Vietnam coverage when they would go to break and kind of give a daily update on Vietnam, but that was super interesting. This Saturday, if you hear this in time, by all means, try to get near a TV somewhere in the afternoon, because I'm sure that to the minute they will replay the landing on the moon thing. CNN will air... What's the Apollo 11 documentary we saw, Bernie? CNN will be re-airing that. It was in the theater this spring. Watch it, and you should watch it on July 20th. It will mean more to you. I'm leaving this weekend to take my dad and my two older kids to the Oshkosh Air Show in Wisconsin that we've gone to every year. We're leaving early so we can get to the hotel early so that we can see that.
That's cool.
I'm looking forward to it.
I actually just recently got a newspaper from July 21st, 1969, when the big headline was, they landed on the moon and everything.
Yeah.
And it's from here in Jackson. It's pretty cool to flip through it because it's like page after page after page of moon coverage. It's just, old local newspaper.
Now, did you see the coverage? I mean, they've been playing stuff all week. I saw this and I'd forgotten about it. But the Russian attempted landing.
Forgot all about. I had no idea.
Yeah. Luna 15. I heard something about it, but didn't know the details. And of course, they're going to keep something like that, I'm sure, pretty hush. But that was strange. That was fascinating. How many miles away? Wasn't it like 8 miles away from the site?
They were. While our astronauts were literally landing on the moon at that same time, and it was not a coincidence, the Russians were landing an unmanned craft on the moon as well. And I'm sure the wonder at the time was, is this an attack? Is this here to spoil it? Is this here to spoof us? Or are someone about to shoot us?
Star Wars.
You don't know. Some other things that I was learning through some of these, man, Bernie, you're right. There's so many documentaries that went out. Before Kennedy died, his hope was to partner with the Russians in going to the moon, to split the cost. Before he died, he was starting to find out what it was about to cost for us to go on our own, and there's a chance he may have pulled the plug. History remembers it very differently, and it was a shock to me to hear something like that, because we usually hear John F. Kennedy say, "Man, we'll go to the moon because it's hard," and like that was a stalwart thing. But when you think about presidents make bold promises all the time and break them, I mean, that's pretty common. So what would happen had he lived? We don't know. The Vietnam War might have changed. We don't know. So many things could have gone a different way. But man did land on the moon. It was Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins that went there. Michael Collins would be the only one that didn't get to go to the moon. And he rode shotgun in the command module by himself while his friends went down to the moon. And he did have protocols to save them. The only thing he couldn't do was save them if they landed on the moon and couldn't take back off.
Right.
If they got down there and for some reason couldn't take off, he had to go home without them. But if they got loose,
that's crazy.
If they were still flying, basically, he could get them, or he had a way to get them. But if they got down there, they're on their own until they came back. Can you imagine?
That's freaky.
That's where the memorabilia, what's the word?
Yeah.
Memorabilia.
That's the one. That's the winner right there.
That all the astronauts, they were signing all of these things and leaving them behind on Earth before they left. So if something did go wrong and they couldn't come home, that would help support their families. They could sell off those artifacts. And I'd forgotten about that. But cool stuff, man. 50 years ago, and we're supposed to be going back. But I'm sad that it's taken this long to do that. I'm one of those people that says, we're an exploring species and we should be doing something all the time. And, we've been doing kind of something, but that's something we shouldn't have been perfecting all of this time. It shouldn't have taken 50 years to start making that a platform. And that's Bernie's 2 cents.
A lot of the astronauts were asked, are you surprised that 50 years later, we're still talking about your landing on the moon because that's the last time it happened? And pretty much all of them have unanimously said, we didn't know. We didn't think we'd go there forever, but we all thought we'd be a lot further along with something by now. Neil Armstrong, prior to his death, he was very private. He didn't enjoy the limelight. He frankly hid from it. His one interview where he was asked about that, he said, I don't know what we were going to do one way or the other, but when we lost the competition, basically when we beat the Russians to the moon, our country lost the resolve to keep going. We won the game. Damn it. We needed the competition to keep going. But it did happen, and I do hope that we get back there. And luckily it was him at the command, because when they went up there, the computer was about to put him in a crater. He had to take over, and he had to land with next to no fuel. I'll just play this, and then we'll move on. I know for a lot of you guys that aren't into space travel, I get it. But, the iPhone in your hands right now and the Velcro on your, well, hopefully not your belt, that all came from the space program. Or shoes, or whatever it might be. Here's landing on the moon.
Picking up some dust. Straight shadow. 4 forward, drift into the right a little. 30 seconds forward. Contact light. Okay, engine stop. We copy it down, Eagle. Listen, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
Later on in the movie Spaceballs, Lone Star would fly Eagle 5. The Winnebago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nice tie-in.
We can move on. We don't have an official ad this week from Policy Genius, but we are going to do a little bit of a special because we want to encourage you to use this. We want to really impress them. So we are going to do an off-copy ad. I've got a little background noise to play in here. Corndog, you ready to read the call to action when we're ready?
I'm ready.
Here's how it went. I took a little page out of Bernie's book to prepare these.
Oh, no.
It was a dark and stormy night. The local sheriff in Jackson, Mississippi knocked on the door of the Cornett household. Mrs. Cornett answered the door, saw the look on his face, and knew in an instant he was there with grave news. Mrs. Cornett, he said, I'm sorry to tell you, but Justin Corndog Cornett, your loving husband, father of your 2 beautiful children, hero to Mopar owners worldwide, and co-host of the Kippy and Friends show, has been in a dreadful accident. I'm so sorry, Mrs. Cornett. He did not survive. Mrs. Cornett dropped the kitchen plate she was drying, knowing she'd need to find a new man to provide for her family. The only life insurance policy she could think of wasn't a life insurance policy at all. It was for Justin's coronets. He had like 40 of them over the years, and he had sold or traded them for all sorts of weird stuff. The last was a tank full of screen-used air from the lost Forever Young General Lee's spare tire. Justin had never had time to tell her. He had found the Forever Young General Lee. He had purchased it, hid it, the proceeds of which from the sale would provide for their family for generations, but he never had the chance. She started to sob, thinking about the only eligible bachelor in town that could provide for their family's needs. His name was Dustin Corvette. He was the owner of a used VCR store in downtown Jackson, and he hated screen-used paraphernalia more than anything. In fact, his store would buy collectibles off of eBay just to melt them down into that stuff that goes into, I can't believe it's not butter, that weird sweatable stuff that actually is pretty good but has got to be made of some type of odd chemical anyway. Just then the sheriff said, "Ma'am, if it's any comfort, we found this in the glove box of his pickup truck. It's a $1 million 20-year life term insurance policy. It appears from the paperwork that he had just gone to policygenius.com, filled out the questionnaire, and less than 2 minutes later found a policy that was a screaming deal. After he purchased it, he noted in his exit survey he had learned of it on the Kippy and Friends show. Mrs. Cornett, everything's going to be all right." Her sobbing subsided. A confident look came upon her face. She looked at their wedding photo, gave it a wink, and said, I knew he was the only man I'd ever need and that he'd always take care of us, and he has proved it yet again. Kids, pack your crap. We're going to Disneyland. Corndog, yep, call to action that we're going to need here. Oh,
Yeah,
and, welcome back to life, by the way.
I'm talking from my grave. So, if you need life insurance, but you just don't want to deal with all the legwork, head to PolicyGenius.com. It's an easy way to compare all top insurers and find the best value for you. Policy Genius. Delegate what you hate, especially if you hate getting life insurance or dying in a fiery crash.
Way to go, man. I hope people go out there and get some good deals. They also have car insurance, homeowners, renters, and all the other good stuff. It's really good stuff. What do you think, Bern?
Good job.
Thanks. I was trying to think about how you would lay it on like real thick and maybe have some misleading facts just to find a way to tie it all back together. Mm-hmm. I worked hard on that. I've been thinking about it for a while.
I was wondering why you sent me that text earlier today asking if I ever had any cornets.
See, that was all. And I even put a little misleading end question in there that we're not going to say on the air because of the other implication that comes with that. Yeah, I know about it.
Okay.
Okay.
Wait, how you feeling?
With that, I think it is time to go ahead and get to the Dukes of Hazzard movie review. You guys good to go? Anything else we need to cover? Bernie, did you have a shout out you wanted to do?
I did want to do one shout out before we got to the movie review, and Rob, this concerns you as well.
Okay.
As does everything. The world revolves around our Rob. Apollo 11 actually was orbiting Rob, and this probably is some proof of that.
Wow.
One of your all-time heroes, Rob, has a birthday today, and I wanted to mention that. He's a film star, a comedian. Your buddy, Will Ferrell, is 52 years old today. Did you know that?
I heard that on the radio on the way here, but no, I didn't know it until then, and I guess from you now.
Well, I thought it was funny. I was watching the daily daytimers, which is kind of odd anyway. We don't usually spend a lot of time doing that. But they had a segment from one of those Hollywood news shows, and I ran and turned the recorder on real quick because they actually had a few people there at one of his celebrations, one of those Hollywood celebrations. I know he's not shy, and it probably doesn't seem too far out of character, but Will was singing his own birthday song to himself, and it was just hilarious. So I went back and I rewound it and got a clip of it. If we've got a second, I'll play it for you.
Feel free.
All right, here we go. This is Will Ferrell singing his own birthday song.
Did you hear that?
Happy birthday, Will Ferrell.
Happy birthday to Will Ferrell. All right, off the top of your head, what's the best Will Ferrell movie of all time?
I got to go with Step Brothers. It's outstandingly crude, but man.
I'm excluding Elf from this. It's almost timeless. It's got to be one of his funny, crude, weird movies. It's Ron Burgundy for me. I love Anchorman so much, and he has so many great ones, but I can not watch Anchorman if it is on. I love it. Not Anchorman 2. That sucks. Anchorman, the original. What do you got, Corndog?
Close second.
Who's the best?
They're all really good. Of course, Talladega Nights, you always think of that. I've always liked his skits on Saturday Night Live. I mean, they're always, most of the time, pretty good. Not all of them were great, but yeah.
Happy birthday, Will Ferrell. If he hears this, and I hope he does. He's got a podcast, too. What if he got the idea of podcasting from us? Makes sense to me, right, Bert? I could not agree more. Oh, you may as well finish it now.
Okay.
Thank you so much. And now it is time for the Dukes of Hazzard movie, our discussion of the 2005 big screen hit.
Just a good old boy, never meaning no harm.
Let's take us back to 2004. Rumors hit the internet aplenty. A big screen debut of the Dukes of Hazzard will finally happen. Will there be a General Lee? Will there be a flag on the roof? Who will be Bo and Luke? Who will be Daisy? Nobody knows until we do. And then we find out Jay Chanelahaskar, the guy from Broken Lizard, is going to be the director. And Stifler and the guy from Jackass are going to be Bo and Luke. And Burt Reynolds, the bandit, is going to go Smokey, and he's going to be Boss Hogg, and Willie Nelson's going to be Uncle Jesse, and Jessica Simpson, I guess she can be Daisy. And then everybody starts to get worried. Holy crap, this sounds like it could not work.
It's a train wreck waiting to happen.
Everybody's getting worried. I'm getting worried. And I was frankly quite worried until the trailer came out. And then I was pumped. Like, everything's awesome. The car is there. The car is bitching. It is fans like us. We saw the little changes in the car, but nothing that was unforgivable. Like, oh, yeah, this is going to work out. This happened many years in advance, but I was hoping that this movie, and the trailer made me think this, but I was hoping that this movie would kind of be like the Star Trek 2009 reboot, where they take all of your favorite characters, they put a little bit of Top Gun into it, and it's just bigger, and it's better, and it's well cast, and you love the characters so much, and you appreciate what they're doing. Like Chris Pine as Captain Kirk. He's a great Captain Kirk. And really, when I rewatched this movie, it's not a bad movie. I found myself laughing. There are a lot of good chuckles in it. The soundtrack is awesome. If you love classic Southern rock, you are not disappointed. The stunts are fantastic. Probably still my favorite part of the whole movie. It's just not the TV show. If the funny dudes from high school who all smoked pot together and were cool grew up and didn't get real jobs and were given $50 million to make a movie, this is what they would make. I'm pretty sure. But it's good. We have so much to discuss here, but let me go ahead and just play for you a little bit about how the show launches. And it does set the tone. Even when the movie starts, you kind of think you're going to be okay.
Welcome to Hazzard County, a little corner of the world where everyone knows everyone else and people are never too busy to stop and say howdy. Shoot, some folks even say this is where the apple pie was invented. Yep, basically everything down here moves a little bit slower. Unless, of course, your last name is Duke.
And that's the generally flying by, literally.
Over you,
and tearing around sideways, doing everything it should. And it starts out, it's not the generally that you know. It's clearly a 69 chart. It's orange, but it's old. In technical land, as I'm sure you're going to regale us with here, Corndog, it's called a pre-Cooter generally, because Cooter has not made it into the generally that we know now. The guy piloting it, the stunt driver, is Tanner Faust when it's in pre-Cooter form. It will not be driven by Rise Millen, also a very talented, he's a drifter as well, just like Tanner was. He'll take over once it becomes post-Cooter. The movie starts out strong. So, Corndog, I assume that you saw this in the theater. I mean, you were on set for all that other stuff, but, well, wait, were you in it? We've talked to a few other fans that were actually in it, like literally in it.
Yeah, no, I wasn't actually like an extra or anything in the movie. Long story short, I went to go possibly help build the cars, and at the time they decided they were going to sub out the work to a local shop. The transportation coordinator, he told me, he said, well, if you want, I can make you an extra in the movie. And I said, no, that's fine. I'm a car guy, so I just wanted to work on the cars and be around the cars and everything. So he still invited me to come on back anytime I wanted and watch him do stunts and, hang out and stuff. So I took him up on it.
It's interesting how much input you probably got, or input you probably gave just based on your knowledge talking to other people around there. I wonder how much your knowledge bled into the movie.
Probably not much. Everything was set in stone by the time I showed up. I was there before the cars even really got their full identity. Magnum 500 wheels and just turbines, and some of the cars didn't even have decals. They were just orange cars. When I got there early on, it was really, they didn't want you taking pictures of stuff, even though I still did. I just tried not to stand out. Talked to only who I needed to talk to, and that was about it. But then after I got comfortable there for a little bit, then, they loosened up, they recognized me, and they didn't care if I took pictures. And so I was looking at VIN numbers and all this kind of stuff as well, but they had recognized me. I wasn't just someone off the street that they had never seen before.
You got more access. You were trusted. You could be on set. You got to do the dumpster dives, which you did.
I got to show you something. One of the dumpster dive finds.
The
Boar's Nest menu.
Is that real? Like, what are some of the items on the back?
That's awesome. Let's see here. 1 egg, $2.95. 2 eggs, $3.25. It's just a typical.
It's a real menu.
Nothing. Yeah, nothing fancy. I've got it in a little paper sleeve, but yeah, it was in the trash pile. They don't have any kind of like special names or anything on it. It's just typical bacon, eggs, strawberries, whatever. But it's, and then also with the car parts, you know, I got a bunch of car parts that they were throwing away as well.
And we're going to talk about that in depth a little later on here. So I did a lot of homework trying to understand the green lighting of the movie, how money was given, how Chandra Hashar. I even looked up a pronunciation of his name, and I've
never been able to pronounce it.
There's a YouTube site where it will teach you how to pronounce Indian names. I almost had it. I should have written it out phonetically. But Chris Kutcher, Ashton Kutcher, so I know, but I knew Chris Kutcher in high school. His stage name is Ashton Kutcher, but to me, it's still Chris. Ashton Kutcher and Paul Walker, I think, were rumored to be Luke and Bo at one point.
Right.
Kutcher.
And Britney Spears.
And Britney Spears was going to be Daisy. Kutcher had been spotted at a bar party in Hollywood dressed as Luke Duke. I read somewhere else, and I'm curious if this is true, that Owen and Luke Wilson were once rumored to play Bo and Luke Duke. And Owen and Luke are brothers, and one's blonde and one's brunette. And they would have been too old to play these parts anyway. But that actually would have been kind of cool.
Owen Wilson, his voice kind of gets on. He's kind of nasally, whiny, so it kind of gets on my nerves.
It is, and he doesn't really have a dynamic range of acting. He's the same person.
He was real annoying in Meet the Fockers. He was trying to woo the old girl, and he was just so annoying on that movie.
Yeah, man. You got the sub-Z's. Sometimes you just got to strike when the time is right. So you have Sean William Scott, who is really best known as Stifler from the American Pie movies. You have the guy from Jackass, Johnny Knoxville. I don't know Johnny Knoxville's real name, who is best known for finding different ways to denutify himself.
And he did most all of his stunts in the movie.
Did he? I would believe it. He's pretty fearless. He will do just about anything.
I saw some video or something where it said he had actually said that he would do anything that they will let him do. You know, I guess there's a liability part there, but he will do anything as far as they would let him do. So
I would buy that.
Interesting.
What's the actor's name who played Cooter? Because I always think of him as Todd Packer from The Office.
I can't remember his name.
Or Whammy from Anchorman. He's very funny as Cooter. Interesting enough, after the movie, there was a potential second and third big screen planned. And both of those fell apart pretty quick. Both Knoxville and Sean William Scott bowed out pretty quick. Don't know why. There was another movie that fell on. It was a straight to DVD, awful production that we're never going to acknowledge existed ever.
Yeah, I think I've only watched it once.
Yeah, it's bad. Jay, the director, was quoted as saying he would only do the movie if he could have Burt Reynolds be Boss Hogg, because he loved the movie Smokey and the Bandit, and he was a huge fan of the Dukes of Hazzard. He wanted the car to stay the same, even though I have really interesting segments of him discussing why he wrestled with the car so much. But it was because of the flag. But he also knew that even though that he is a pretty liberal, progressive guy, while he would like to see the flag go away from being flown over state houses at that time, he didn't want to screw up the car. He would rather not do the movie than change the car.
Yeah.
And he's our age. He's a fan. 26th highest grossing movie of 2005. Want to hear some of the movies that it beat bad?
It beat or that beat it?
That it beat.
Okay, yeah.
It beat out the movie Bewitched, a Will Ferrell treasure of a movie. Also, Must Love Dogs and Herbie Fully Loaded. It beat those. It did not beat out Star Wars 3, The Phantom, whatever. It did not beat out Batman Begins, and it did not beat out Wedding Crashers. Not that impressive. It made money, though, so that was good. Super good. The vehicle stunts did not disappoint. I would guess that most Dukes fans love the stunts and don't mind the movie. Probably like it. I don't mind the movie at all. It's not the Dukes of Hazzard. The characters are totally different. The car is great, and it's kind of is what it is.
I think between the writer and the director, I think they were fans of the Dukes of Hazzard, but they weren't like purist fans where it was like, oh, well, you've got to do this and you've got to do that. You know, they were just, they just grew up on the show and always liked it. You know, of course, during this time, remakes were really big. So, they just made it how they thought it would be funny. I mean, it's probably been a couple of years since I've watched the movie. Like you said, I jump in and look at stunts here and there and just a couple things. But it's been a long time since I've actually sat down and watched the movie from beginning to end. And, it's pretty funny. I mean, yeah, it's not a purist remake of it, but I know a lot of people despise the movie just because of, how crude it is and everything.
What'd you think, Bernie? You watched this beginning to end, right? And you're typically not assigned to have to do that, but you went ahead and did it.
I did, because I had never seen it, and it was good homework, and it was a great way to kill a couple hours on my comfortable couch. And your comments about how it's the movie and it is what it is, I was thinking back, what other movie is like that? And it hit me, the comparison movie is Apollo 13, that they took liberties with the script. Tom Hanks said things in there that weren't actually said on the comm tapes, or it was close. And you ask yourself, well, why didn't he say it just the way that they did in real life? And the answer is it's Hollywood, and they were taking liberties to, in their minds, make it better, or make it not even better, make it their own. And so that certainly applies here, I think, for the Dukes. The guy that played Rosco, I looked, and where have I seen this guy before? Where have I seen him? Where have I seen him? It's MC Gainey is his name, and he was in Con Air, and he was driving the fire truck at the end. So just all kinds of little things I picked up. We can talk about those later if you want. I got a whole list of them here. That's one way to make it their own. What better way than to make it your own than to have Rosco completely different than what you see in the TV show. I didn't like it at first, but then it kind of warmed up to me and I got it, and it was okay after that. Good show, not great, not outstanding, but good, and worth the single-digit number to rent it.
It's interesting. This is your first viewing. This is probably, my 10th of actually seeing it start to finish. I've seen the stunt scenes hundreds of times, probably. I found myself laughing really at Sean William Scott. I like the way that the movie starts. I like how he responds, like when the guy comes out with the whammy shells and he goes, "Cool guns." Actually, I got a clip here.
Cool guns.
I like how he addresses him when he's getting a little flippant. And
Oh, no, I never travel alone, sir. I like to think I travel with the man upstairs. Jesus.
His delivery, Sean William Scott, to me, I liked him in this movie. I don't know if it's because it's been a while or not, but I did really like it. He's not Bo Duke. Bo Duke is calm. Bo Duke is confident. Bo Duke is level-headed when he needs to be, but Bo Duke is somebody who looks before he leaps. Bo Duke is great with women. Bo Duke can drive anything. That is not this version of Bo Duke. The only thing they have in common is that they're both pretty phenomenal drivers. Otherwise, Sean William Scott is kind of a goof. He doesn't really know how to connect with anything other than the car. I pulled a little clip in here right in the beginning again, when he's waiting for Luke to go inside and make a delivery with this guy's daughter, apparently, of moonshine. He's listening to, let me just play it.
Listen and learn, General.
And now, side 2 of the Al Unser Jr. story. No questions, only answers, as read by Lawrence Fishburne. I'm too old for this
Lawrence Fishburne. That's so funny. And it's no answers, only answers. Oh, that's just so awesome. When I was listening to it with my headphones on, and you hear Sean William Scott dropping some F-bombs in there. And I'd never heard that on screen. I'd never even heard it on TV before when he's talking to the General Lee. But he wants the General to be his race car. And you find out that he has won this, what's the name of the race that they run every year? He's won it 4 years in a row. He's about to go 5.
Yeah. The Hazzard County Rally or something. Yeah.
Let's talk about the other characters. So Luke. Tom Wolpat's Luke Duke is the strong, silent type. He's like a chess player, thinking 3 moves ahead. Mm-hmm. He is physical. He's charming. He's fast. He can drive, too. We never know if he can drive better than Bo. We assume Bo can drive a little bit better. That's not this one. This one's kind of crass. He can't drive at all. The thing that's in common is he's smart. At least we're told that he's smart. He's certainly fearless, like Luke. What did you think of this version of Luke there, Corndog?
I could never see him as Luke. his mannerisms were almost more along the lines of the original Bo. You know, he was just kind of the wild one, and just he didn't play the smart, level-headed one. Mm-hmm. It was fun watching him.
Here's the character that I most disliked, Uncle Jesse.
Oh, really?
I did not like what they did with Uncle Jesse. I understand that everybody had their little different tweak. I liked Willie Nelson. I think he could have been a great Uncle Jesse, but I didn't like that they took the family patriarch, who was kind of the moral center of their entire family, pretty much all throughout the series, the one who didn't bend on morality, and they put in a pretty foul joke telling Willie Nelson. And Willie Nelson can play it straight. I mean, he's not a bad actor, but that's not how they had him play it. I did not like that. That was the one piece that I walked away. I can tolerate Burt Reynolds not having a big enough role as Boss Hogg. I can even tolerate him being tall and skinny instead of short and fat. I guess I can tolerate Rosco being basically mean instead of
I didn't like Rosco.
Jocular. The one that I couldn't get over is Uncle Jesse. That wasn't Uncle Jesse. Didn't like that. And ironically, he's the only one that returns for the sequel.
Oh, yeah.
Willie Nelson did.
He was bored that year.
Yeah, I think he had some taxes to pay, as I recall.
Speaking of Boss Hogg, did you notice that in the beginning he had a goatee and at the end he did not?
I did not notice that.
Clean-shaven chin, at least. Had his stash, but no goatee.
I wanted to do a little bit of a segment here. I'm going to ask you guys some things that are right, some things that are wrong, some things that are different, and just kind of see what you think about this. What did you think about the General Lee's origin story? They changed its canon. It was not built by the Duke boys one night after recovering it from some bank robbers. It was rebuilt by Cooter in a fit of rage to get it back together and changed into the way that they know it. What do you think of that?
I never really cared for the pre-Cooter and post-Cooter conversion. I would have rather it been just the post-Cooter the whole time, and he rebuilds it for him, and maybe drops in the Hemi then or something. It didn't necessarily have to be the faded pre-Cooter paint job. Nah, I'd rather it be just one uniform.
One uniform car all the way through?
In the movie, yeah.
I didn't necessarily care. It's the motion picture. They tweak canon a little bit. I really compare this to the Star Trek 2009, where the Enterprise on screen is clearly not the Enterprise that I know. It looks like it, but it's different. I was just so happy to see the car again. And I was so happy to see it be the hero that we all know that it could be. So let's do this. What was right about it that was different from the series? So here's what I have. Here's what's right about this movie that's different from the series. And we haven't even talked about the plot yet. I'll get to that in a second here. Number one, the soundtrack. The soundtrack is awesome. I will hereby tell you, using AC/DC in chase scenes to pump up action works really well. And you want to know how well? Jon Favreau used it in the Iron Man movies, and the Avengers movie that just closed out that made $80 billion is all thanks to the General Lee drifting to AC/DC. That's my summary on things. That's something that's right. The General Lee drifting, doing jumps, it's a bit of a modern day stunt because it's doing... Yeah, it's drifting, but it's drifting different. On TV, it was a tail wagging car. That's how Al Wyatt Jr. liked to do it. In this one, it's drifting like a drift car. It's so cool, but it's different. The other thing that I liked from a stunt perspective was the General Lee going up on two wheels on the driver's side. Bobby Orr did the stunt. That's how Bobby laid it up there. I'm not sure that I had ever seen that before in the TV series. I don't like it better or worse. I just like that I got to see it. That was my take about what was right, but different from the TV series. How about you guys?
What I think was right on the movie compared to TV was the cars were sure enough true hot rods.
Yeah.
Whereas they were just portrayed as hot rods in the TV series. They were just right off the street, put on a fancy paint job and maybe put some glass packs on it, and that was about it, really. But these cars for the movie, they were legit hot rods. They had front and rear sway bars. They had four-wheel disc brakes on some of the cars, and a lot of them had stroker engines. They were built-up cars.
That's a very excellent technical answer that our audience would agree with. On TV, especially as kids, I mean, we just thought it was the fastest car ever.
Yeah, because they told us.
And in the movie, it actually was fast. It was a good, solid car. Yeah. What do you think, Bern? What was different about it, but that you liked?
At first, when they made the transformation from old to new, I thought the car was too nice. Does that make any sense? You go from such a raggedy car that they were throwing around on stock rims, and then suddenly, in the span of 8.5 hours that he had to turn this car around, it's really, really a nice car. It took a little bit of that to get used to. The sound of the car, I loved. I don't know how much cam motor had in it, but my goodness, just
I had that as a question for Corndog. Do you know what they used for the audio track for the engine? It was good. Really?
I think it was the Crate Hemi. Mopar Performance debuted a 528 Crate Hemi
at SEMA.
At
SEMA 2004.
04. Yeah. And so after it left SEMA, they boxed it up and sent it straight down to Baton Rouge, and it went in the original TV series car. And at first they used one of those plastic dummy blocks. I would be willing to bet that was probably, after they got the engine in it and got it all hooked up and running and everything, that was probably what they used for the audio. The car, one day while I was there, they were loading up that number 2 car. It sounded tough. He drove it up onto a rollback, and they were taking it somewhere, and it sounded really good.
I like that, and I like the continuity, I think, of the car itself throughout the crash scenes. In the TV show, there's a lot of missing dents all of a sudden, from scene to scene. Here, I was really looking for that. And it was very consistent. The front end damage from the first wreck, when he split the gap there, the damage on the 2 front quarters was consistent all the way through. I don't know if it was exact, but it was at least consistent shot to shot. And then, throughout the movie as well, it kind of stayed. I never saw it leave. So I was kind of impressed by that. That was really nice.
Here's the last thing that I really liked that was different from the series. I liked that they dealt with the flag. And I don't know that they could have dealt with it in a more perfect way.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just going to play this segment because Bo and Luke, when the car is redone and they end up in Atlanta in rush hour traffic, they don't know it's on the roof. And this is the interchange they get from people driving by.
Well, it was nice when they took the
Yeah, baby, Southern by the grace of God. Yeah!
Yeah. Well, at least we know they're nice up here.
Hurry up. You're late for your clan meeting, hole.
Clan meeting?
Don't listen to her. The South will rise again. Yeah! Yeah, brother!
What the hell's wrong with these people?
Nice roof, redneck. Join us in the 21st century?
This is when they see it.
You gonna make some friends up here, huh?
That's how it's dealt with. It's still there. They didn't put it there, and like you were saying when I started rolling the clip, when the car was presented to them, it was nice. They just missed it. But it was addressed like that, and Jay Chandler-Haskar, however you say his last name.
Chandelier.
JC. JC, well, that's probably different. He just wanted to make it clear that he was not going to be the guy that took the flag off the car. They were going to deal with it because they kind of had to deal with it. They couldn't just ignore it. There were a number of people that didn't want to see this movie made because of that car, because the flag was on the car. So that's how they dealt with it. They dealt with it in a funny way. There was no judgment one way or the other. Threw it out there and kind of moved on. I was pleased with the way that they handled that. Here's what's right about it. That was just like the series. Well, the first thing that was just like the series was the plot. This is almost literally one of the Dukes of Hazzard episodes. I looked it up. Season 5, episode 21. The episode's titled Farewell Hazard, where a strip mining plot is the theme. Boss Hogg is selling the strip mining rights for Hazzard County to some developer. They're going to strip mine the whole town. And Bo and Luke in this movie are there to stop him from doing that. That's the plot of the movie. That's almost
it held true to a lot of the storylines from the TV series.
That's almost exactly the plot line of that episode. We haven't reviewed that episode yet, but that's from there. I liked that. I thought that was very good. I liked that they didn't use CG. There's a couple little CG things that they added in. I think they put Sean William Scott's face generally in the last jump because that was a slingshot jump. I think they CG'd in some fire on one of the bow and arrows when they were shooting it or something like that. But almost the entirety of the stunts is real.
Yeah, I never saw any of the stunts CGI'd.
And they show. They show, and they're so, so good, especially today in the modern Avengers day when everything is green screen. The stunts were good. I loved the car on the Go-Mobile. I loved the actors in it. I loved all of that. From a stunt perspective, I couldn't be happier. Any additions there?
Yeah, like you said, they did do some green screen. My car was actually used for green screen as well. I saw a picture where, you could see my car in the background, and sure enough, you could see the green screen in the background too. But anyways, yeah, like you said, it was just for, little interior inserts for the jump cars and all that. So
anything else, Bern, on that one?
If we're going to Corndog scale it, I'll give it, I'll go 7.
Well, we're not quite ready for the Corndog scale. I have a couple more topics I want to dig into here. So, what was crude about it, but you still found funny?
Oh, there was a bunch of stuff.
There were many.
Willie's jokes. Okay, come on. I said it.
Yeah.
I'm going to give Billy Prickett this one. I don't know why, but this one just cracks me up so bad.
Oh, no. Daisy, this race here is for charity.
Really? Which one?
Anal bifida? Spinal bifida? It's one of the bifidas.
Every time I see this, I'm reminded how funny that guy is. I don't even know who the actor is. It's very, very funny.
And there's a bunch of really vulgar jokes, like, after Cooter did the conversion on the General Lee, he was asking about how he could be paid for his work.
Yes, he asked for,
I don't know if you remember,
sexual favors, a pair of still warm shorts from Daisy. He asked for a number of different things.
Yeah, and then finally he just says, when you win, you pay me. That's how it works. You pay me after I do the work.
When you win, you pay me.
He settles for payment.
James Roday, or Roday, Roday.
That's who?
Billy Prickett.
Billy Prickett? Okay.
Yeah.
I love the cameo that came from Super Troopers with Jay and some of the other actors that were in that. They all had parts in here. But I love when he pulls them over for doing 8 miles an hour. And then when they pull away, he says, Mother of God. That was pretty awesome. Let me pull in some box office mojo in here. We've already kind of talked about what we didn't like. For me, it was the character transitions. That's what I really didn't like. Box office mojo, total domestic gross, $80,270,000. That's in 2005 dollars. The budget was $50 million. It was in theaters for 13 weeks, 91 total days. It was in 3,785 theaters. It was released on August 5th, 2005. It was the biggest movie of that weekend by far. It got horrible ratings on Rotten Tomatoes, 14% on the tomato meter. Yep. The LA Times didn't care for it. Yahoo News didn't care for it. But other movies had come out that had success, specifically Starsky and Hutch, and that's kind of what propelled a lot of the impetus to make this movie. It did make money. Now, this kind of came out at the 11th hour, and this is probably well known in most of the Dukes of Hazzard circles, but I didn't know this. I learned this as we went. I'm reading this from a 2005 Yahoo News article. Hollywood's Warner Brothers Studios will pay $17.5 million to settle a breach of copyright lawsuit that threatened to block the release of the Dukes of Hazzard movie, report said. The 11th hour agreement by the movie powerhouse to fork out the huge sum to film producer Robert Clark came after a judge barred the studio from releasing its $55 million movie on August 13th unless the case was settled, industry publications said. Clark had claimed that Warner's had infringed on the copyright of his obscure 1974 film titled Moonrunners. This film became the basis of the hit Warner television series, The Dukes of Hazzard, which led to the upcoming feature. Clark executive produced the movie Moonrunners and was also the producer for the 2005 television movie, The Dukes of Hazzard, Hazzard in Hollywood. I didn't know any of that.
That would have been 2000.
Mm-hmm.
Not 2005.
Well, that was the 2000 movie that he was the executive producer for.
Okay.
He sued over the 2005 movie, claiming that it had violated his movie, Moonrunners. Now, jumping forward here, the suit was settled and the movie was allowed to release.
I seem to remember that just before it came out.
Oh, yeah? Bob Clark was an American actor, director, screenwriter, and producer. And although he worked primarily in the United States, from 1973 to 1983, he worked in Canada and was responsible for some of the most successful films ever filmed in Canada, such as Black Christmas, Murder by Decree, Tribute, Porky's, and a number of other movies. He is best known for directing and writing the script with Gene Shepard to the 1983 film A Christmas Story.
Oh, fudge.
That guy. He sued for $17.5 million. I went on to read a whole bunch of other things because I thought, now wait a minute, why didn't Guy Waldron sue the creator of the Dukes of Hazzard? Aren't there a million other people who could have sued? Well, the answer was there could have. It went on and on. But that particular lawsuit, that $17.5 million lawsuit, had the movie blocked. It was not going to release. If they hadn't paid the money, they wouldn't have got it out. So if you add up the budget of the film plus the $17.5 million, that's what it really cost to make this thing. The movie only netted $20 million, and that's back in 2005 dollars. And maybe that has something to do with why the sequel went straight to DVD. It didn't kill the sequel, interestingly enough. They still wanted to make some money off that, and they still had cars to do it, apparently. So now I think we are ready for the Corndog rating-o-meter.
Well, what I was going to say about that was, even though they only made, how much did you say total? Like
80
a little over 80. They made a lot more than that, because if you think about it, in 04, 05, really 05, 06, on into 07, Dukes they were hot. It was on CMT, it was everywhere.
I need to update that. That was 80 million domestic. It made another 31 million in foreign, so a total of 111 million.
But still, you think about all the memorabilia. They came out with so much stuff, just like it was the TV series all over again, and so they made so much money off of memorabilia and just all kinds of stuff. Even though, we were talking about the flag issue, if you look at the pictures and stuff from the red carpet event, it was loaded down with every celebrity, snowflake celebrity today. They were there partying it up. No one had any problems with the flag, really. They probably made a lot more than, of course, box office stuff. So,
Tom Wopat says he has never seen it.
Really?
Yeah. John Schneider went to the premiere and actually tried to befriend Sean William Scott. That has changed. And I don't know if he saw the movie and that's what changed it. Hard to say. Ben Jones was very public a few weeks prior to the launch of the movie about saying it needed to be either corrected or removed and boycotted.
Right.
It didn't play well with most of the original cast.
Well, they were also looking to get a cameo in it.
They all declined. Yeah. No.
They declined. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'd heard that they kind of wanted to do a cameo.
Oh.
And that was kind of why they were a little butthurt about it.
I would love to know which it was, because everywhere I've read says that cameos were offered and declined. But I honestly, until I started researching it for this, I'd never heard anything one way or the other.
There's a bunch of little tidbits I was going to say.
Feel free.
The guy that played Rosco, MC Gainey, he was in a Dukes episode.
He was.
And we're actually getting ready to review it. Not too far away. Let me see which episode it is. It is
Bad Day in Hazzard, I think.
Yeah, Bad Day in Hazzard. And then the other deputy, not the guy who played Enos, but it was another one who was working the roadblock, Richie Montgomery. He was in 2 episodes. He was in Enos's Last Chance and Strange Visitor to Hazzard, your favorite episode. He played, and you may not remember, he played the disc jockey for the local radio.
Oh, I remember him very well.
WHOGG or whatever.
Yeah, he was Elton. He was the drive time radio guy. I mean, he was doing what we're doing before we were doing. And in the Dukes of Hazzard movie, he had one line. He got to say something that every person would say in real life if the generally jumped over them. Do you guys know what he said? Let me play for you what he said.
Yeah.
Holy shit!
Can you imagine if a car flew over you? That's exactly what I would say too. Holy shit! What was that?
I got another crazy one for you. Do you remember the guy when they were in jail? And he says, don't you know you're not supposed to wear white after Labor Day?
Yeah.
You know who that is?
No.
Wayne Douglas Morgan. He is today John Schneider's bodyguard.
Really?
Yeah. When we were down at the extravaganza, he was the main guy that was walking around with John Schneider. And if you look at some of the pictures that John posts from, different events and all that, he's always pretty close by. He's bald-headed, and he's got a white beard and mustache, and he's pretty stout. He's an actor and like a producer and bodyguard and everything. I think he was also like Lindsay Lohan's bodyguard for a short time. So he's today John Schneider's bodyguard.
Well, okay.
It was random.
We all start somewhere. Are we ready for the Corndog rating?
Sure.
All right, Corndog. On a scale of 1 to 10, how many corn dogs of yourself?
Now, what are we basing it off of, really?
1 Corndog is a terrible production that you don't like. I would never watch again. 10 is really good, that you would watch every single day.
I don't know if I'd watch it every single day, but the purists are probably going to hate me for this. I'm going to give it a solid 9.
Solid 9?
I wouldn't watch it every single day, but, there again, I'm big into the car stunts, and this movie is slammed full of car stunts, and, the vulgar humor, I can look past that and, all that, but I'm a car guy, so it had plenty of cars.
9 solid corn dogs?
Solid 9.
From the Corndog. Bernie, who did watch this movie, what do you give this thing?
I'm going to stick by my original 7 because of these stunts, I wouldn't watch it every day. I may or may not watch it again, but I have watched it. And I'd watch it again. I say so. And just for the reasons that we've already talked about. And I'm not a purist. I'm not a hater.
I think for you, especially having your first viewing of this, that's probably what most people walking out of the theater said too. Here's mine. I haven't seen this thing in a long time. And for some reason, I had a negative view of it before I went back to watch it again in full. I actually liked it. It's not the Dukes of Hazzard. I don't think of it as the Dukes of Hazzard, but it's funny. And I love the general. So I'm joining Corndog in here. I'm giving this a 9. I separate this from the Dukes of Hazzard TV series. It's a different thing. I think of it really as a car movie. It just happens to be my favorite car in the movie. A solid 9 for that. Yeah, I will look past the crude humor as well. If I just don't pay attention to the fact that they're using the names of all of my favorite characters, I'm cool with that too. I love the music in it. I forgot how good the music is.
You really get into it.
Oh, yeah. And I love that Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top, he's the guy that underlays all the solo guitar work. That's really good. Is it Junior Brown, the country western singer who is the balladeer? Nothing beats Waylon Jennings, of course, but I like the way that this guy laid it down. I like this movie. I thought it was good. Solid 9. So here's what we're planning to do next. If you are a regular listener, you're going to hear some clips that I pulled in here that I thought were funny, including the one of the bifidas that's in there. And you are welcome to move on with your day. If you're a Patreon subscriber, we're going to do a second hour to this show, and Corndog is going to break down for you all the cars that were used because he was there, and you're going to hear the story of how he got on set in the first place and how he has this magic list of all the VINs and seems to know where they all are, and they're all out there, so we're going to hear about all that. But this is a test for us. We're trying to see if people like this, if we have the stamina to stay up another hour. I mean, there's a lot of things we're figuring out here as we go. So that wraps it up for this week for our normal show. For our Patreon audience, we'll also do our Q&A show to end out the month. For everybody else, we'll see you back here in August, and we'll let the world know if we'll be at Cruiser's Last Stand. Be sure to visit policygenius.com and get yourself taken care of. That's no joke. Everybody does need correct life insurance, especially if you got kids at home. That's it, fellas. See you later.
Later.
Bye-bye.
Later.
Okay, this is Rob. So we have just recorded for an hour and 10 minutes, and then we did another hour and 20 for Patreon. And now we're considering doing a part 2 to this episode because of all the stuff we didn't get to yet. We all enjoy this movie, so if you want a part 2 to this, you gotta let us know. Feel free, though, to head on over to Patreon if you would like a deep dive on all 27 Chargers that were used in the movie. Just broke them all down, as well as all the filming locations. Did you know that this was all shot in Louisiana, not in Georgia? Did you know that the scene where the General Lee's going around the circle is really Lee's Circle, what used to be Lee's Circle in New Orleans, and that the statue of General Lee looking down on the car General Lee was just a happy byproduct of that filming location? That's all in the Patreon, so go to patreon.com/kfshow if you would like more of that. I hope that you will. Otherwise, please check out the clips. By all means, get yourself some life insurance from Policy Genius. Thank you for supporting us. We'll talk to you later.
Listen and learn, General. And now, side 2 of the Al Unser Jr. story. No questions, only answers, as read by Lawrence Fishburne. I'm too old for this shit.
cool. Guns. Oh, no, I never travel alone, sir. I like to think I travel with the man upstairs. You know, Jesus.
Holy shit! Yeah, baby, Southern by the grace of God! Yeah! Yeah!
Well, at least we know they're nice up here.
Hurry up. You're late for your clan meeting, asshole.
Clan meeting?
Ah, don't listen to her. The South will rise again. Yeah! Yeah, brother! What the hell's wrong with these people?
Nice roof, redneck. Join us in the 21st century?
You gonna make some friends up here, huh?
10, 9, ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11.
Oh, boy. Picking up some dust. Straight shadow. 4 forward, drift into the right a little. 30 seconds forward. Contact light. Okay, engine stop. We copy you down, Eagle. Listen, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
Growing up with this show and growing up with Smokey and the Bandit, I could never change the car. The car was the whole reason to even do the movie in the first place, you know? It's the car. It's about the car.
The 69 Charger. It's quite the car. I mean, it's General Lee, man. Everybody knows what it is.
I think the fact that it's big and it's wide, but it's sleek, it has a look of power.
I mean, I just sort of started to really enjoy shooting the long, flat planes and where that would curve into the roof, and I mean, it's a really kind of a great-looking car on film.
You know how fast you were going?
What? How fast you were going?
I don't know. 10?
8.
Isn't the speed limit 10?
Yeah, it is.
You guys police?
Campus police. Mother of God.
Come on, Luke. Let's get the general.
Well, look, why don't we have Cooter stash at? We'll take his truck and head over to the highway.
How do you feel if the general and I went to Atlanta and left you behind?
She a Georgia peach? Damn, Cooter, what'd you do? Make a deal with the devil or something?
Is that heavy?
Me and my buddies lose the Gettysburg reenactment every other Sunday, so we figured why not let General Lee win one? I don't know how we're gonna pay you back, Cooter. All right. Hey, Bo, just win that Hazzard rally. That's thanks enough. And then when you get that prize money, you pay me, because that's how it works.
I love you, Cooter.
Oh, I didn't have time to fix everything.
Oh, no, Daisy, this race here is for charity.
Really? Which one?
Anal bifida? Spinal bifida? It's one of the bifidas.
Will you now? What are you doing with my land, Jefferson?
Ain't your land anymore.
Wasn't that long ago you used to be a moonshiner, too, remember?
Well, I have reformed from my sins. I am now an honest businessman.
Like sponsoring race cars. What are you getting out of bringing Billy Prickett down here?
You know, your nephew's won that race 4 years in a row. Now, who's gonna fault me for breaking up a dynasty?
Well, I know you're rich and I know you stink, but you ain't stinking rich. You wouldn't be throwing that kind of money at Prickett unless you thought he was going to earn you 10 times that.
You're a smart man. So why don't you do the smart thing? Why don't you take your family and leave? 'Cause, see, now I own that farm, and you ain't never gonna get it back.
Welcome to Hazzard County, a little corner of the world where everyone knows everyone else and people are never too busy to stop and say howdy. Shoot, some folks even say this is where the apple pie was invented. Yep, basically everything down here moves a little bit slower. Unless, of course, your last name is Duke.
Well, I quit my job down at the car wash and left my mama a goodbye note. By sundown, I left Kingston with my guitar from the book. I hitchhiked all the way down to Memphis, got a room at the YMCA. Woo! Man, the General's in good shape. Oh, come on, Bo. It's happy hour at the Boar's Nest, and we still got 2 deliveries to make.
Oh, it's all one big happy hour, Luke. Besides, we're taking a shortcut.